This video is supported by TBC Live. Check out the TBC Live on the App Store or the Google Play Store. It's an app to enjoy NRL with friends while the game is going. You comment what's going to happen next, and you thumbs up and thumbs down if you disagree or agree with people. There's great rewards to win every week, and your favourite content creators, including me, are on the app. So check out TBC Live today. Now, this is a video that I wanted to try and avoid, but I feel like it's come to the point where this video needs to be made. Now, before this video starts, I want to say I'm going to be as very respectful and careful as I can to kind of highlight my side of it and the frustration behind what is happening at this club. Because, you know, as you can see around me, I've got a banner there. I've got the jersey match worn of Michael Jennings. I've got all this Parramatta stuff around me. So if you think I'm a fake Parramatta fan, and you know, I've done vlogs for other clubs, and right now people are calling me a closet Dragons fan, which I know that's a bit of a joke, but Parramatta is my club. I love my club. I want my club back. And this video is about sorting those issues out that have been there for a long time. They haven't been addressed, and I think it's time to talk about it. So let's start off with last year. Now, last year, obviously, Parramatta were coming off a grand final loss, had a bit of a hangover year. I think that there was a lot to do with, you know, off-field drama was part of it as well. There was a little bit of injury there, but I don't think it's to blame as much as this year. Again, I don't think injury is an excuse to cut it, though. For team performances, I guess there's been some poor individual performances, but as a team, we've been really, really poor this year, and that's shown by our ladder position. So last year, obviously, you had the World Cup as well during the off-season, and I think that that really played into a lot of players' mind that they didn't really have a pre-season. But then Parramatta started to put out some really confident pre-season, some confident talks that we always see at the fan day, and giving fans false hope once again. Now, the issue for me is that there seems to be no accountability. Now, what I want to say on that is no player has had a poor game or, you know, 3 poor games and was dropped under Brad Arthur. The only time that Brad Arthur would use a debutant was due to injury as well. Brad Arthur was a great coach, but it was definitely time to go. With this, I don't think the way that his sacking was handled was awful. I spoke about this on the Talking Para podcast, that the way it was handled was really, really poor. Now, you had a month basically where Wayne Bennett was approached, who definitely would have made a great coach at the Parramatta Eels, but for your head coach to be treated like that, pushed out the door, and as you've seen the comments, I didn't see it personally, but some comments made at the Newcastle game the other day clearly indicate that there were some issues and things going on. The other thing I want to mention, and obviously there's been a few different hashtags that have been going around. You could say that potentially we were part of starting those hashtags as well. A bit of movement, traction, noise there that's really gotten out publicly, is that people in charge of the club have already been addressed as problems. Now, what I mean by that is that you've had players current, former, you've had people within the club who have left their role come out and said, whether it be on a podcast or a media conference, and hinted towards these issues. Now, I think it's unfair to judge exactly what's happening based off a few scenarios. One thing I want to point out, though, is that Dylan Brown hinted at this about, you know, a cog, something needing to work together as a team. There was a book, a really, really big screenshot, very cryptic on Instagram, but you could tell that it was either pointing at a player who was continuously getting picked for the team, or it was someone in charge of making decisions, which we've started to see a little bit more proof now about the decisions. And obviously now Parramatta are in a situation where they are looking for a new coach. And I've got to say, I hate to say it, it's been an absolute mess. It's been nearly 3 months now since Magic Round and still no idea of who the head coach is. I feel like for me, probably Josh Hannay is in the box seat from what I do hear, but There's been nothing confirmed yet. Ryle, Hannay, Dean Young, names that have been thrown around and interviewed. But the board right now needs to have a good look at themselves. And I feel like Parramatta have brushed things under the rug and tried to walk away from it. And it's just getting worse and worse that it's brewing towards a big storm. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that I'm in support of protests, because I know people want to do protests and things like that. I don't think not turning up is going to change things. And I think that there is a public message that is starting to go out there online. And I think it's doing some good, some bad, but doing a lot of good on that side as well. So I spoke about accountability at the start, and I think that some senior players have made some really poor comments this year, as well as last year. This year has just been frustrating for me, and it's at the point where it's part of the reason that I just don't want to go to games. I have to travel down to game. I have loved going to game for the last 6 years. And as you've seen via an Instagram post, I am actually taking a little bit of a break until at least the end of the month. I'm not doing the Titans Eels vlog. I'm not doing the Rabbitohs Eels vlog. I may go to the Eels and the Storm game. We'll see what happens there right at the end of the month. But right now, my head is not there for this club right now. And I feel like the club is not listening to its fans. They are brushing things under the rug and not addressing those issues. I think there are some really big issues within the club that obviously can't be made public, but we're starting to see, a bit of backlash. We've seen fans of Parramatta messaging key parts of our organisation. We've seen some numerous comments from the CEO throughout the year. I think the communication has been quite limited. It's nice to see, emails and things like that come up, but I feel like the club absolutely needs to do more. And I've been saying it all year that we need some blue and gold blood back in this club, because right now the direction we're going is poor, and not just poor, it's frustrating. The comments that have kind of pissed me off this year. I love our playing group. Don't get me wrong. I love our playing group. As I mentioned, players need to be accountable for poor performances, especially if they haven't been in form all year. Put them in reserve grade, give them a chance to get their confidence back. It's not tapping them on the shoulder and saying, go. It's just saying, look, mate, every other club does it, but this club just doesn't seem to do it and understand it. But, there were some comments where I'd love to see the full interview, but there was some comments along the lines of, it's pretty crap. We've done some crap things this year. We're getting used to it. And I really didn't like that. The attitude towards the fans. And I want to be proud, and I am proud to wear this jersey, and this one too. All of these jerseys that I own, I want to be proud to wear in public. I want to go out and I want to pledge my love, allegiance, whatever you want to call it, to Parramatta. And, when the team struggles, you still stick behind them. And what I want to say, and I know there's been a very big backlash to the Talking Para podcast, I feel like we are entitled to speak our opinion, but we still are also speaking about some massive positives. There's still so many positives for this club, things that we love, players that stood out, a debut, Matty Arthur last week. There's still so much good there. And we're not trying to run away. We're not trying to make fans not attend games. But we do want change. And I want change. Right now am at the lowest point of being a supporter. I've only been a member for 6 years, but I've been a supporter for 24 years. It's obviously been a long time since we've, been close to a grand final / won a grand final. 2022, you can blip that one out. I'm getting to the point where it's really, really frustrating, and it just seems like there isn't enough listening there. So, I would love to just say to Parramatta that there are a lot of fans, including me, that love this club, that travel for this club. I know we have supporter base that goes down to Melbourne. We have supporter base that goes down to Brisbane. I know Paracave Troy, he loves to go to places like Brisbane for every Parramatta game. I was keen to go to the Gold Coast for the Parramatta game, but I can't do it. I just can't get the confidence, and I don't want to put everything on hold right now just to go to a game, which I know there's going to be no effort. And I know that things are frustrating. And when times get tough, you still have to support your club. But there is a lot more going on than that, and it's not just the playing group. As I mentioned, there's accountability, there's cryptic hints. There are people within the organisation that I wouldn't say have their own agenda, but they definitely need to listen to the fans, because Parramatta would be nothing without its fans. And, there's been hashtag fans over profit. There's been all these different hashtags going around, which I try to stay as clear as possible away from for the most part. But I'm starting to get to that point where I agree that I'm feeling like players care a little bit sometimes more about profit than its fans. And I think at home games for the last couple of years, players have come around less and less. There are some great players that come around, but there are also players that just walk straight up that tunnel. And I think, we pack out that stadium quite often with, 20,000 people that, want to meet a player. And I know not everyone can meet a player, but just a little bit more respect for the fans, a little bit more communication with the fans is something that needs to happen, because I don't know where this club is going to go. I really am concerned for the future. I would love to say, let's do it next year. Zach Lomax is coming. Let's make it to the grand final. But the confidence is really, really low. And I think that we perform worse than other teams. I think that teams like the Tigers, teams like the Titans put in some massive performances, even though they're towards the bottom of the ladder. They've scored 60 points, the Titans. The Tigers have had a couple of upset wins. They've had almost the same amount of wins as us this year. So, I think we've only won one of our last 9 games, which is really, really disappointing stat. As I said, I'll still be getting 2 games where possible, but I will not be going out of my way right now. And I just want you guys to know that if you're watching this and you're a Parramatta supporter, I'm feeling the same thing as you are. I really am. I've been holding it inside for quite a while, and I want the club to listen. And I know that on the podcast, we definitely communicate in a way that we hope that the club will listen to. And I know that this isn't an overnight fix. You can't click your fingers and make this all go away. But just the fact that people within the organisation have been, named or slowly cryptically mentioned, or they've come out and said, yeah, this has happened in the past from a former player, just shows to me like that they're in a really wrong direction. And obviously the head coach thing, as I mentioned, I think Josh Hannay will get it, and I welcome him to Parramatta if he is the new head coach, him or Jason Ryle. But I really don't know if they're going to go down a path of making a decision in the next week or 2 weeks, because it just seems to be, as we keep saying, an absolute circus right now, which is really, really disappointing. So, that's my 2 cents on the club right now. You can see that I have all this around my room. I love going to games. I love the channel that I've built off of this, and I love the fan base that interact with me that are also Parramatta fans. But I don't think we can be silent anymore. I think there are a lot of people who really want to express their opinions. So, get your opinion out there. Let people know how you feel. Make a video like this for the club. Tell them how much you love the club and how much you want it back. There's a lot of people out there that definitely speak in a negative manner, but then they talk about positives, and I feel like the club only focuses on those negative moments. You've got clubs like the Gold Coast Titans, you've got the Canberra Raiders, you've got the Bulldogs that work together with content creators. You've got, TJC Sports, myself, vloggers who, we've never worked with the club, probably never will work with the club. But you've got people out there like BKR from the Titans, roaming with Bell from the Raiders. You've got Winston Neville from the Bulldogs, and the communication there with content creators as well as fans itself, even the Bulldogs. I get emails from clubs regularly. I know we get a Parramatta Eels team list lineup every week, but there just needs to be more. And there needs to be better decisions. We have lost a lot of good players over the year, and that comes down to our recruitment manager, general manager, if you know who that one is. Some of the decisions in the last few years have been really disappointing. And instead of taking a step forward, this club has taken a step backwards. And I will love this club till my dying breath, but I needed to, get my 2 cents, I guess, out of this. Obviously, I've got all these jerseys around me that I want to wear to games. I want to wear a different jersey at every game and be excited to be there. But right now, it's just not happening. And I know people say that I don't often tip against Parramatta. I have tipped South Sydney to win this week because I just have no confidence right now. As I said, there are some great individual performances week in, week out. Moses was fantastic last week at Newcastle. Blaze was pretty good as well. We've forced, some of the decisions this year. I'm going to go back on this one as well. Blade, you've put him at fullback. You've played him at 6. You've played him in the centres. You've played him at the wing. What are you doing? This is a young kid that wants to have a future at Parramatta. Look what happened with Lachlan Galvin. I have no answers right now. And I honestly don't think anyone does. I don't think anyone has answers to these questions. I think there's more and more questions arising every week, and really, really questioning the integrity of what's going on in this organisation right now. So, I want to speak about a positive, which I spoke about the other day, and that was the members event. The members event was fantastic. There was food, there was drinks on tap, there were all these different things. There was giveaways, there was communication. You had people with the club going around, talking around the club. You could speak negative, you could speak positive. It was a great experience. I'd love to see more of that. Even if it just be at the leagues club, you have someone who works from the club doing little interviews here and there, like other clubs do, interviewing their fans. What do you think of the game? You weren't happy with last week. What are you expecting tonight? That sort of thing. Be transparent, be honest, and show some respect for your fans. So, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I'd love to be able to one day obviously work with the club. I'd love for things to start to change in a direction where we go back to a bit of a blue and gold culture that we have definitely drifted away from over the last couple of years. Now, if you haven't checked out the Talking Para podcast, make sure you check it out over on Facebook, as well as some posts that we do on Instagram. Now, with that, I just want to mention as well that if you don't listen to the podcast, because I know people are judging me based on some comments, you need to understand that on those posts, there are people that are commenting their name and it's their point of view. Now, I will speak about that point of view sometimes, or I will ignore it on the podcast, but that is not me. So do not come at me and say that it is my decision to, retire Clint Gutherson, because it's not what I want. I spoke about that last night. I spoke my 2 cents, but I still get a lot of people saying you're part of Talking Para. You agree with that. And as I said, there are some negatives, some positives of that podcast, but that is the reason why I wanted to kind of clear the air about, what's happening. And there are a lot of different rumors and it's hard to get the truth behind it, but I'm really, really hoping that the fans can, get together and just start to make some sort of noise, because I feel like it had to happen. I feel like no one's made a video like this as well, and I necessarily don't think the club will love this type of video, but as you can see, I'm a loyal supporter, love my club, and get in the comments and let us know how many loyal supporters out there are getting frustrated. That's going to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I was trying to be as respectful as possible. If I said anything that, people think was wrong, let me know in the comments as well if you think I've crossed a line. But, 6 years of going to Melbourne, Brisbane, wherever I go for this club, I love this club so much. I have match-worn jerseys from Jermaine Hopgood. I have match-worn jersey from Ryan Madison. I love the playing group. I love everything about Parramatta. But right now, I am most disappointed I've been in years, and I feel like we're in a deep, dark hole that I don't know if we're going to get out of. So subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.
It's hard because I've been out of the game for so long. But when I was there, it was more about the community, all that sort of stuff, bringing the fans in a bit more closer. And it was a lot of mateship, less business, more mateship. I know it's hard because we haven't won a comp in so many years.
And I was one of them. You get away with a bit more. You don't have to train as hard as others. Probably don't get sprayed as much as other players. But whenever he was under pressure, you better believe we always went to bat for him and said, So when the board come in and they're asking the key players, what's the coach like? We're always going to defend the coach because we've got his support. So that's where